including for people who came in late. If you missed something, feel free to ask a question that in terms of interest in spectrum. Yes, sir. So the FCC would say yes. So first of all, the incumbents have licenses from the FCC. You know, some of them are like the Navy, right? I don't know if they need a license or not, but if they're going to use it, they're going to turn on their radar. They notify the SAS, and anybody has to get off. There's also some stations. So those are essentially permanent licenses that may not be used all the time. And what this concept of the SAS is that the FCC said, wait a minute, you know, we've got all these spectrum licenses. Not all of them are frankly being fully used, right? There's a big concern about our parties warehousing spectrum. Certainly the carriers have a lot of spectrum. They have more than they need. So that was the concept of the SAS. So we're going to go into this band. Yes, it's got some incumbent users, but there's still plenty of spectrum here, and we can make it available. The next tier down, right? So in general, the incumbent use, you have to look at it. But if you're inland and you're not near an earth station, which is 90% of the country, you don't really have to worry about the government users. The next level is the PALs, right? So 70 megahertz is allocated to primary access license. 80 megahertz is allocated to general authorized use. General authorized access, I guess is what it's called. And the SAS controls who gets each of those 8, 10 megahertz licenses in given areas, right? So there's a lot of complexity here to know you could have multiple different users of the same frequencies around the same county based on the actual propagation of the system. And the SAS has to calculate all of that, and that's why, you know, companies have developed these very complex databases. The FCC has moderated. There's a trade association that deals with all of that complexity. The last deal with that. But if you're in, you know, of course, we're selling licenses, right? And we're representing parties that are selling licenses. Those are the primary access licenses. So if you have a PAL in a given area, you are guaranteed 10 megahertz of your own rights with nobody who can interfere according to, you know, the propagation rules. And in that case, it is like the old-fashioned license. It's yours. You get to do what you please. But the SAS actually tells you where it is within that slotting. You have to have you know, equipment that can move around. And if you're not using it, they'll actually let one of the GAA customers entities use it. So it's yours if you use it. It's yours when you use it. When you're not using it, somebody else could use those frequencies in a particular area.
How do they know if you're using it?
Because the equipment, first of all, you register your equipment with the SAS. It tells you it's constantly in communications and lets you know whether it's in operation or not. And you know, the main station and the remotes. So it's obviously much more complex, but it is accomplishing, I think, what the FCC wants to do, which is to see these bands be used as much as they can. For the PAL licenses in CBRS is your question. So the PAL licenses were auctioned. Lots of them went to the carriers, right? Verizon, AT&T, etc. Some of them went to investors. So we were investors on a small scale. There are other investors on larger scale. So if you're interested in PAL licenses, you know, the first thing you can do is go to our website and click on CBRS and you know, your state, and it will show you what PAL licenses are available. Meaning that somebody has listed them with us, right? It's like a real estate multiple listing service, right? It's for sale or for lease. But when you look, you find that, wait a minute, my county or my counties don't show any availability, and you know, we have the minority of counties actually listed today. Then check with us, because all the license holders are listed. I mean, you can do the same thing. It's in the FCC database. You can find the contact person and you know, give them a call. Yeah.
PALs could you,
In the auction, it was 4 PALs maximum. I still think that's the limit.
yeah,
Per county.
Per county, yeah, that's right. It was done at the county. So good news about this auction in a way, right, because it gave the small fry, right, relatively small investors a chance to participate. When it's done at the county level, you know, you have a chance to really focus, and it's not gonna all be taken. The stepping in price is not that high, so you can get it. And the other thing we're doing, by the way, is basically all these licenses can be subdivided. Whatever block the FCC sold them at, they can be divided on a lease or purchase basis. So within the CBRS space, you might want to just buy, if you're the convention center, you might just want to buy the PAL that covers the convention center. Or if you're a party that sells service, if you're an operator of an oil and gas piece, right, you might want to have it cover the same territory that you're leasing from the government. So that possibility is there within CBRS and really within all of these bands. We do partitions, right, is the geographic version. Disaggregation is the spectral version. Maybe you don't want the full 10 megahertz, maybe you get 505. That, you know, we do that all the time. And the FCC is, I mean, the systems are a little clunky, but the policy is that they will allow you to do that. That's no problem. Yeah, I mean, the licenses are, the original PAL licenses, almost all the licenses I talked about are issued in 10-year terms. But basically the rule is, as long as you're using it, it's going to be reissued. So it can be a purchase. You buy either the whole PAL or a portion. It can be a lease. You can rent for 6 months. Well, theoretically for 6 minutes, 6 months, 6 years, 60 years, right? All of those are possible. And so there's a whole range of flexibility. You can just take a portion. And as Louis, I think, was explained, we expect this to become more like a market over time, right? You know, we're involved in developing a system that would allow you to click and, you know, identify an area that you would want, how long would you want it. So the SAS is sort of keeping track of who owns. I think of it as kind of the registrar, the county clerk, right? Who owns what in particular pieces of counties. Our focus is, okay, well, how do we turn this into a market so that you can get what you need? The GAA is there. If you get it, great. There is some risk, I think, though, in, you know, what happens if the system does shut down? How long is it before somebody else can get your PAL, and then you got all this equipment?
7 days.
So, thank you. So 7 days is the limit. So, you know, to me, the cost of the PAL may be worth it, depending on what you're trying to do. So, I guess I would say this complexity is great. It's good that we're trying this out. I'd encourage you, particularly if you're looking in areas where the population is relatively minimal, as many of the areas where you guys are producing oil and gas are, look at traditional licenses too, because then you don't have this complexity. You don't have to pay for the SAS, right? Because that's an ongoing expense every month, every year, whatever. And so take a look. And there are options. The equipment is out there and available, but do a kind of long-term, how much is this going to cost me to manage this versus you know, just getting the license, which can be a one-time payment.